what's up guys, Holding Alice with you here, bringing you Fairytail final season anime review. This was episode 298/21, titled An Excellent Time. This was a very great episode, battle heavy. A little bit controversial in some parts, which I'm going to have to break that down, but let's get to the first fight. Lux's fight continues against Wall, and as we know, he's badly hurt, not breathing and stuff on the floor thanks to his disease. And Wall is going to give him the final blast. And Luxus used his finger and he created something with magic, like a magic rune on the floor. And it was one of those runes that Thrid usually used to like seal people in, and he sealed him in so he wouldn't be able to fight him. But since he has Dispel magic, he dispelled Lux's spell. But Luxus got actually happy and was like, I have to thank Thrid for teaching me this because that's actually how Luxus has actually been healing. The way he's been healing that demon cancer in him is that he used his magic runes that he learned from Thrid. He creates them, then he gets them dispersed, and the particles that come from that disperse, he inhales. So he's been using this remedy a lot to heal himself. So he was hoping for Wall to actually disperse it, because that's the only way Wall would actually able to attack if he has to get out from it. So of course, by forcing his hand to do so, Luxus was actually able to rejuvenate and, inhale that. And then he went in with a lightning punch, and Wall is laughing, like saying, "You can't hurt me. I'm unaffected by lightning." And then we get a flashback of him talking to the first master, Maris, when they were in that summer park before the Grand Magic Games, the park that Natsu destroyed out of stupidity. And she basically brings up that Yuri was one of her best friends, and he's one of the four founders. And he was like, "Oh, wow, really? Gramps never told me about that." And he was like, interested, so he asked, what was he like? And she was saying some traits about him, and Luxus was like, "That's not me." And then she was like, "Oh, and he also loves his friends more than anything." And he was like, "That's especially not me. I almost tear the gill up over some stupidity a while back. I'm surprised they actually let me in." And then her response to that was, "But you're still moving forward, right?" And she smiled at looking at him, and he caught on to what that meant, like, "But you still not giving up on your guild/family. So that's a good thing, right?" That's technically what she meant. And he's remembering that he comes out of nowhere with this thing called Megaton Red Lightning. And he strikes him with a punch with that red lightning, and he punches right through him. And Wall's down. He's done for. Now, a lot of people were upset about this in the manga because this power came out of nowhere. It was not displayed, I guess you can say, well. But it was stated that this was actually, if you read the manga really well, they do state that Yuri, the great-grandfather of Luxus, did have lightning magic. Just like Luxus. Because Makaraj, he has light magic, not lightning magic. He can use lightning magic, but his original magic is actually light magic. Where Luxus' original magic is actually lightning magic. So he fits more to his grandfather's personality. Great-grandfather's personality. Not to mention, on top of that, it was hinted at that him and Luxus has a lot of, things that, hook them up together, resemblance between them. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for, resemblance. So it kind of makes sense why he would gain this red lightning. I wish they would have expanded upon it more. Like, it was hinted at, but it was never really clarified, so a lot of people got upset when Luxus uses red lightning to win. But, I mean, in the end, if you technically think about it, even if he didn't have this red lightning, it still would have been possible for him to win. It would just took a lot more work, because he would have to, physically hit him a lot of times to, be able to take him down. But, I mean, depending on which side of the fence you are, a lot of people was calling it an ass pull, but it's not really an ass pull, like I said. Luxus and his great-grandfather has a lot of resemblance between each other, so they balance each other out. And there's a lot of things that, even with Mary saying, that you're a lot like him and stuff like that. And we get to see in Fairytail 0 If anyone read or saw that, that was basically the backstory of Yuri and Mel and all those other people that were with Maris. And we did know his magic is lightning, and he looked just like a younger version of Luxus. Not a younger version, but he was more like a tall, stocky version of Luxus. Still built though. He had lightning magic, and we seen his progression and stuff. And it was hinted at that his lightning was special. So since Luxus is his great grandson and he resembles him so much, like, it makes sense. A lot of people were angry about it, but it makes sense. Then we get the other fight, which is Wendy, Sharla, and I believe her name is Sheila, the God Dragon Slayer, Wind Slayer, versus Demoria. And she was about to kill Wendy, because we found out her magic is to time stop. And she was about to kill Wendy for kicking her in the face, but something talked to Wendy and Sharla and Sheila in their head, and they broke out of the time spell, and they were actually able to fight back against her and dodge her attacks. And she was confused on why. And we get to see why. We see Artir. Now, if you remember in the second half, from second quarter of Fairytail 2014, the end of the Grand Magic Games, Artir sacrificed her life to reverse time to save Grey. Sadly, only her time went back, but it was able enough to save Grey and everybody else that was badly hurt. And time was actually able to be fixed. And even though she was supposed to die from using that spell, she didn't. She got old. So when people saw her here, they was like, how is her spirit here when she's still alive as an old lady? And that can actually be explained very easily. I just wish Hero would have explained it, but if you think about it, technically the life force that she gave up at that moment is the life force that's stuck in time. So this is still a part of her life force. So it's still her. It's just stuck in that young time. And it's stuck in that time forever, looking young. So it makes sense that she exists in time stop. So it makes sense that if you find somebody who has the power to type stop time, and you exist in a world that time, it has no time, then it makes sense why she was able to actually come over here and see what was going on and help Charlotte and Wendy and them. And then we found out something very, very dangerous and cool about Demoria. We found out her real magic is actually takeover magic, and what she took over was actually Kronos, the god of time. Now, if you play God of War, you know anything about Greek mythology, Kronos is actually one of the Greek gods, if I'm not mistaken, of time over there. So that technically shows you where, like, Demoria, where she's technically from. Okay, we know Ajo, he's like, from, like, how to put it, he's from the east side as well, but he's more, I guess you can say, Indian side or Cherokee side. So it's like, it's nice to see where all the 12 Spriggans are from. Even though if you look at what the Spriggan Empire was in the back, it relates a lot to, like, Eastern part of mythology, but more like the Hindu and Indian side than the actually Japanese. So it's nice that Hero wrote that in. But that's basically her magic. And we get to see her in her beauty and her beautiful time form. And it was like, whoa. Pretty deadly. Especially scary, too, because what's going to happen soon. And she ended up actually shooting Carla to death. But luckily, Artera saved her and stopped her time, so. But she's like, if she does it again, she's going to die. So even though Charlotte has that wound, her time in that wound and her time period is stopped. So she won't bleed out. But they have to hurry up and beat her and then use magic on her. And Artera brought up a suggestion. I can teach your third origin to get your future powers, but once you use this technique, you will never be able to use your power again. And that's when we got that cliffhanger and the episode stopped. But again, that was a pretty good episode. We also got other stuff. We got Happy and Lucy talking about Natsu and hopefully he'd be okay. And we saw that Lucy actually was worried when Wendy was almost killed in Charlotte. Like, she felt that in her heart. We also get to see the Fairytail Guildmaster speak and contemplating a plan. Jalal just bumped into Ezra and Kaguya, so that's going to be a deadly situation as well in the episode. We get to see Grey and Juvia's team. Juvia was almost killed in this episode, but she was saved by Melody. And we have, it's funny because we have Grey's friend Leon crushing on her, saying, oh, how cute she is, and he's in the corner blushing. And it was a really good episode. Again, a little bit of controversy between these two fights. And this is sadly a pattern that we see a lot of the fights up to come. Some of them are reasonable, some of them aren't. Technically, depending on where you stand, but I'm going to be here to break it down and give y'all the best possible review I can give you on that. But again, it makes sense for Luxus and Wendy why they were able to gain this power to do what they needed to do. But yeah, the next episode is going to be hype. As you see, if you see the preview, one of them had to pick this power to see who, will beat her. And if you look in the preview, you can technically tell who it is, but if you don't watch the preview, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But yeah, whoever used this third origin technique is going to lose their magic forever. Anyone who watched Hunter x Hunter, it's kind of like what Gon did when Gon gave up his nin to age, and he gained all that power that he would have been at that age if he would have grown naturally. Technically, something like that happens. So, but yeah, it was a great episode. Great stuff. Can't wait for next week. See what happens between Jalal, Kaguya, and Ezra. See this whole Wendy and Charlotte situation done. See who's going to help Luxus out, because he's over there banged up even though he won. Can't wait to see that other Spriggan that was hiding in the ship near the docks, which Ezra and Kaguya and Jalal's actually near there, so that's going to be very interesting. And I just want to know how the heck did how the heck she got God takeover magic? That's just so weird. But then on the other hand, we have Mary Jane, and her takeover magic, she picks devils. So it makes sense that there's somebody that's the opposite of her on the opposite team, right? But it was a good episode. But like, comment, share, subscribe, guys. Hit that notification bell for more. Give this video a like. Follow me on Twitter. Link will be down below. Tell me your thoughts and opinions on this episode. Tell me if you liked it or hate it. If you have not watched the episode, go watch it. If you already watched it, go watch it again. Great episode, guys. But that's all I have for you. Peace out.